The opioid epidemic continues to destroy parts of the country and various families throughout the country. And there are people who are now taking matters into their own hands in an effort to help those prevent overdosing on heroin. Now, prescription painkillers are obviously different from heroin, but oftentimes individuals who can no longer access opioids will turn to heroin because of their addiction. And Hector Mata, who is a former security guard in New York, realized that there was this ongoing trend of people overdosing on heroin in public bathrooms. And so he and a number of colleagues decided to launch something known as Corner Project in New York. And they are taking an incredibly liberal and somewhat of a controversial approach in preventing overdoses. So what they do is they essentially provide a needle exchange program, meaning that if someone wants to inject heroin, they provide clean needles to prevent the spread of diseases and infections. But what they also do is they allow the individuals who show up to use their bathroom to inject the heroin. And the reason why they do that is because they know, well, it's either gonna be our bathroom or some other bathroom. And if they're gonna use our facility, we can at least check in on them and make sure that they don't overdose. So they set up an intercom system, and every 3 minutes they check in on the individual in the bathroom. If they don't get a response, they will find a way to get back into the bathroom. And if the person is overdosing, they are supplied with Narcan to help them immediately. And as a result, they have prevented 25 people from overdosing. And this is modeled after a different project in Canada. And the project in Canada has also been a success. It's been around for a while, and it has actually helped decrease the number of heroin overdoses in that particular area. And we'll get to those numbers in just a second, but I wanted you to jump in, Cenk.
Yeah, so some people will say, oh my God, they know that people are doing heroin in there and they still allow it, that's so terrible. But over 90% of the people who get the heroin will use it in a public bathroom or out in the streets. So either they're gonna do it somewhere else and then some percentage of those people will die, that's a guarantee. Or they're gonna do it in your bathroom and you're gonna save their lives. How is this a difficult question? And the people that sometimes criticize folks who save people's lives by giving them a tiny safe space to do that will say, oh, you're leading to you're enabling their addiction. They're gonna get it anyway because they're addicted. You might as well save their lives. You know who's enabling their addiction? Big Pharma.
Absolutely.
That started the addiction in the first place.
Can I give you an incredible stat that I actually didn't even know about, even though we've reported on this several times? We know that the opioid epidemic is huge in the United States. Prescription painkillers. Well, a recent study found that, let's go to graphic 12, we consume more than 80% of the world's supply of opioid pain pills, even though we are less than 5% of the world's population. 80% of the world's opioid supply.
Okay, do you wanna know why? It's not just that Big Pharma is located here in America. It's that we have laws that allow them to push those drugs on people and market it, could create pill mills, distribute it, etc. Other countries actually care about their citizens. Some of them actually live in democracies that don't privately finance elections. So they say, oh, well then I'm not going to let you distribute it in this way, a pill mill. No, I'm not gonna allow that. But here, I mean, we have legal drugs pouring into the Appalachians, and there's another story we covered, and also all across the country, and the government goes, wait, am I getting my check from pharma? Oh yeah, that's right, they're the #1 donors to politicians in this country. So they go, yeah, have at it, Hoss, do whatever you want. We just did a story about how they deregulated in the middle of the opioid crisis.
That's right, April of 2016, Congress, with the help of Representative Tom Marino, decided to strip the DEA of its ability to suspend suspicious drug shipments to rogue pharmacies and to these pill mills. That's insane. It's not something that happened in the early 2000s and it led to the opioid epidemic. It's something that was passed in the middle of the opioid epidemic. Again, April of 2016 is when Congress passed this legislation.
Guys, politics matters, laws matter. If we had better laws to regulate legal opioids, we wouldn't have 80% of the overdose deaths from those opioids in the entire world. That is, if one of your family members died from that, it is because we allow legalized bribery in America. So more amazing facts. Did you know that 3 out of 4 new heroin users started with prescription narcotics? So gateway drug. All my life they told me marijuana was a gateway drug. It turns out marijuana does not lead to heroin. There is no evidence of that. But 3/4 of the people who were hooked on heroin came from the gateway drug of legal opioids. But since they're the #1 donors to politicians, gateway drug, who gives a damn? You know that as many people die from opioid abuse of legal drugs as illegal heroin? We know exactly what's going wrong, but our politicians, as usual, go, as long as I'm getting a check, I don't give a damn how many people die. It's right out in the open.
So in the United States, we have outlawed safe injection sites, meaning Corner Project cannot identify as a safe injection site. However, they can legally do a needle exchange program, which is what their organization does. It's just that if someone says that they would like to use the restroom to do what they want to do, they won't deny them access to that. And it's a conscious decision. It was a well thought out decision because they want to save lives. And it's modeled after a program in Canada, as I mentioned earlier. And I want to give you the stats on that because I think it's important. So the program in Canada is known as Insight. Let's go to graphic 17. It has seen more than 3 million people since it opened, and it's treated over 6,000 overdoses, and not a single person has died after getting the treatment. Now, what they do is they offer the safe injection site, but more importantly, they offer rehabilitative services, meaning they will counsel these individuals to try to get them the help that they need so they can beat the addiction. And it's really, really important that they do that, and it's working. So for instance, a 2011 Lancet study revealed that in the neighborhoods surrounding Insight, this is in the Toronto area, in the 2 years after it opened, there was a 35% reduction in overdose deaths from the 2.5 years before it opened, compared with the 9% drop in the rest of Vancouver. I apologize, this is Vancouver, not Toronto. It has led to an increased admissions for addiction treatment and detoxification. So that last part is the most important, because yes, some might raise an eyebrow at the idea of providing a safe injection site, but it's much more than that. It not only prevents these overdoses, but it gives these individuals the education and the tools necessary to equip themselves to get better, and that's what matters.
So look at how insane our country is. We have a model in Canada where they have prevented deaths from 6,000 overdoses, and it leads to people getting better in some of the instances, way better than if it didn't exist. So it works. We go, that's bad, evil. It's encouraging drug use. Now, on the other hand, you have the legal opioid business that actually encourages drug use, actually leads to 3/4 of the addictions and deaths, and they go, oh, that's great, that's wonderful. They don't care about drugs, they don't care about you. All they care about is, where's my money? Help us build independent media together. Come join us, tytnetwork.com/join.